Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing a subject which is something that a lot of people have wondered ever since the original Dragon Ball series, more particularly in the 22nd tournament arc of that story, which is who would win? Master Roshi disguised as Jackie Chun or Tien Shinhan? Well, let's get into that right now as I break down the manga and discuss in depth using information about both fighters as to who exactly would win. But before I begin, if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you can stay up to date with all my future videos. Also, if you like this content, leave a like, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and share this video out because it really does help the channel. But with that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so before we get into the fight itself, I want to break down each of the different fighters who are going to be participating here, in terms of not only their power, but also in terms of their different abilities, because this is going to factor in significantly into deciding who would actually be able to win. Let's start with the main antagonist, so to speak, the main obstacle that Goku and friends had to fight against in the 21st tournament, which is Master Roshi, who disguised himself as Jackie Chun. As we could see right here, he was the one who ended up winning that prior fight, and when he did that, we saw that he defeated a Goku who was, obviously weaker than he is at this point, and his biggest feat of all was destroying the moon during that course of time. However, Jackie Chun's power, or Master Roshi in this case, did not stop there, because as he explains right here when Goku comes up to him and says that he's going to try his best to beat him this time, Master Roshi talks about how he knows that Goku trained even more as well, but then he goes on to say too that he's been secretly training too. I can't stand the thought of losing to my own disciple, which of course is the main reason why Roshi entered these tournaments as Jackie Chun, because he wanted to make sure that Goku and Krillin did not win the tournament immediately because of how much more powerful than everyone there they were, and thus as a result decide to just, give up on martial arts because they would become bored with the idea that, oh, we're already the best so early on, why not go on to do something else? Which will play a part in everything that I'm going to be talking about very soon. However, in terms of seeing just how powerful Roshi is here, we don't really get to see that up until this fight actually happens. So let's get more into Tien, the opponent here, and the main antagonist of this arc. So let's get into Tien's first big fight of this tournament, which is against Yamcha, which also ends up being Yamcha's best fight probably in the entire franchise. So let's get into this as we see the two of them fighting against one another, putting out a good amount of effort as we could see with both of them. And, Yamcha's not doing too bad, of course, actually. Everyone's being surprised. Yamcha's actually pretty surprised as well, just by how powerful and how talented Tien is. And even Tien is saying that, interesting, evidently he wasn't just bluffing or full of hot air after all. It's been some time since I encountered such a formidable resistance. This is when Yamcha goes to use his Fist of the Wolf Fang Gale version 2 against Tien, and we see the two of them going back and forth as Tien counters every single one of these strikes and is able to get the advantage over Yamcha, hitting him, knocking him back, and surprising everyone once again. However, at this point, Yamcha gets back up to his feet and unveils that he has also been able to figure out the Kamehameha. However, this isn't going to do anything to Tien because of one of his really powerful techniques he utilizes here. Whereas we see here he does all these hand motions, and he is able to in turn push back or reverse the Kamehameha right against Yamcha, deflecting it and sending it directly at him, causing an explosion in the audience behind. At this point, Tien takes the advantage, jumping up in the air, hitting Yamcha and knocking him out with this kick where he smacks onto the ground, but Tien isn't done yet, because what does he do? He drops down in one of the nastiest moments that we see here at this point in the story, breaks Yamcha's leg in a very disturbing way. As we could see, there's not really much left there, because he seems like he just crushed it and turned it simultaneously. Talk about brutal. But in terms of this fight, Tien wasn't really going all out. He was having fun here. Yamcha provided some kind of a little bit of exercise or warm-up for him, but overall, he didn't try anywhere near as much as he would go on to do with Roshi. So let's get into the main fight itself here. As we could see, Master Roshi is Jackie Chun taking on Tien. And as we know, in this case, Tien and Roshi put up way more of a fight than we saw against Tien and Yamcha, or even Goku and Krillin as they would go on to fight later on, which I will be getting into a little bit because the fact that that ends up playing a little bit of a part into some of the abilities of these two fighters as well. But when they start out, they're going, first off, kind of warming up a little bit here. Master Roshi hasn't even taken his jacket off yet, and him and Tien are doing pretty well against one another, dodging and parrying each other's attacks, getting out of the way. And this is when Master Roshi starts to use some of his techniques with his big afterimage ability, or a super multiple illusion move, as Tien puts it. And we could even see down here one of Tien's abilities with his third eye, where he can actually look in multiple different directions simultaneously to spot out the real one, which he's able to do right here when he's able to kick Master Roshi, knocking him back, and making it where Roshi, as he says right here, will have to get serious in their fight. This is when he casts off his jacket and he goes to fight against Tien, who says that he won't hold back just because Roshi's an old man. You can't even see my hands, can you? But Roshi proves that wrong as he grabs him midair, knees Tien right in the sternum, kicks him in the air, and Tien is able to drop down to one knee, surprising Roshi as he comes right back at him and hits him really powerfully with these shots. Roshi's fighting back again, and it seems like they're relatively evenly matched right here, as we could see. Everyone is shocked by just how awesome this fight is here on display, and, Tien in his internal monologue is saying, "I can't believe an old geezer can be so strong. I don't know who the heck he is. He's better than Lord Suru Senin," which means the Crane Hermit, the disciple or the master of Tien, who is the rival of Master Roshi, and they're both the disciples of Master Mutaito, who is the one that defeated King Piccolo with the Mafuba. At this point, Roshi says, "Absolutely amazing. He took my blows head on. I never knew there was power like that." It is quite a generation coming up. So this, again, plays into the themes behind why Roshi is even here fighting. He sees that that new generation that is going to replace him is finally emerging. And he says right here, if you're this great a fighter, why do you still hang around with Crane Hermit? That's none of your business. You can't badmouth my mentor like that. I see. And what are you going to do about it, huh? And the two of them, again, begin to get into everything. However, Tien reveals something where he says, maybe I'll let you see my full strength for just a minute, revealing that he hasn't even been going all out, as Master Roshi here is surprised and sweating a little bit by just how, much he has to worry about Tien's power. This is where Tien reveals one of his many techniques he hasn't used up until this point, the Taioken, or the Solar Flare, which he uses against Roshi, who unfortunately isn't wearing his sunglasses right now because it would kind of give away his disguise probably. And he then in turn takes advantage of this by hitting Roshi in the back of the head with his knee while he's caught off guard, which he thinks would be able to totally defeat him in this case. He said he didn't kill him because he wouldn't get to advance to the next tournament round. However, he'll probably never regain consciousness. Of course, after 5 seconds, in 5 seconds, like a wrestling referee would count because of how long these 10 seconds are. It's kind of like the Dark Tournament to Yu Yu Hakusho. And Master Roshi starts to get right back up to Tien's surprise. Tien says, "Stubborn fool," and Roshi says, "That one really hurt. You ought to respect your elders a little bit more." "You, what on earth are you?" asked Tien. And Master Roshi, this whole time is not just fighting Tien in terms of physicality, but also fighting him in terms of his mind and morality. Because the fight, kind of like Sun Tzu said, also takes place in the minds of men, as opposed to simply being on the battlefield or in terms of fighting one another physically. And he's saying, why don't you use your formidable power for good? Why have you turned to evil? Your power cries out in shame. You should break your ties with the Crane Hermit and escape from the seductive path of shadows. Run in a world warm with sunlight. Tien, of course, he doesn't really agree with this. He's going to make him eat those words. He goes to fight Roshi, and again, he's getting the advantage here, making Roshi bleed after he hits him with his kick. And, this is where things start to happen. Roshi continues to say that, he needs to stop being so serious. He should learn to laugh and to love life, and that life is way better if you do that, which is kind of Roshi's mentality right here. However, what we could see as things continue on is that eventually, the Crane Hermit actually figures out that this is Master Roshi in disguise and telepathically tells Tien this. At which point, he decides to keep it secret. However, Tien decides to kind of punctuate this in an ironic way by using the Kamehameha against Master Roshi, which he fires at him. However, Master Roshi knows that this attack, kind of like what we see later on Dragon Ball Z with Cell when he fires his Kamehameha, which could destroy the Earth, the same situation's happening here where he's like, it's huge, it'll kill some of the spectators, and Roshi deflects it as well. And of course, Tien also says right here, such an elementary move. If you see it once, you can easily make it your own. Show me more moves. Why don't you? I'd like to learn. And then Roshi says, you're even better than I thought you were. I'm so happy I'm shivering. Walk down the path of light and become a hero. And then he begins to walk away. Tien is confused by this. What? You're still harping on that? I've been waiting for fine young warriors like you to come along, said Roshi. Now I can go back to happy retirement again. And he jumps out of the ring, bringing this fight to a conclusion to the shock of everyone around him. Because of the fact that, as he says right here, yes, it's quite an era dawning, I do think. And then, of course, we see the Crane Hermit say, it's obvious, he was too ashamed to fight for real and lose, that coward. But Tien sees it differently. That's not it. He hadn't even unleashed his full power yet. And of course, we didn't see Master Roshi using his bulked up form that he used against Goku when he destroyed the moon. However, shortly after this, we would get a little bit more information about this situation, which is when Tien confronts Master Roshi after their fight. And he says, why does such an august personage as the Muten Roshi go to the trouble of disguising himself to enter a tournament? And Roshi explains, it's simple really. It's for the sake of my disciples. Let's say one of them wins the strongest under the heavens martial arts tournament. He'll take on that I'm the best in the world attitude and stop working to improve. It's a dangerous trap for youngsters. Tien says, of course, now I understand. Once you learned how powerful I am, you realized your disciples couldn't win against me, and secure in that knowledge, you deliberately lost to me. However, even if you had continued to fight, I still would have won. Master Roshi says, you've got it wrong. This is when Krillin and Goku begin their fight. At this point, Roshi says, I forfeited when I realized that the new generation is turning out fine. I knew none of my disciples would turn into slackers just because they won this tournament. So now I'm confident that I'm not needed anymore. And you're no slacker either, son. You're just not cut out to be evil. Tien is surprised. What? Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone out of your way to ask me these things, says Roshi. Bah, let me tell you something. My goal is to become the world's strongest assassin, just like Tao Pai Pai, says Tien. Oh. Well, says Roshi, this much of what you said might be true. If we had continued to fight, I probably would have lost. So here is Roshi pretty much admitting to Tien that he wouldn't have been able to defeat him, that it was a strong likelihood that he would have lost, even if he went all out in his bulked up form with his ability to destroy the moon, and even more at this point considering he got stronger between the two tournaments, and, Tien's power. And the thing is, too, that Master Roshi at this point doesn't even know the full scope of Tien's abilities, because we go on to see even more of those, like during the fight between Goku and Krillin, where we witness that Goku employs an ability to use his super speed during the course of the fight, where he seemingly disappears, and everyone is shocked by this display of power. Master Roshi himself says right down here that he really disappeared, but I can sense his presence, whereas Tien says he hasn't vanished. He simply can't be seen, and then goes on to say that even I can barely see him. There's no way anyone else can. The tapping is the sound of him repeatedly kicking off the ground. He's performing horizontal footwork at a speed that surpasses human capability, while slowly approaching his opponent. Then he goes on to hit Krillin out of the ring, and, everyone thinks that's kind of an anticlimactic finish, as you could say right here, oh, that was a lame finish, but then Tien says, anticlimactic finish, ha. There's no way these moronic amateurs would know that in the brief instant that boy showed himself, he struck him 8 blows, and with such control that he only knocked his friend out of bounds. So Tien is fully capable of seeing everything that Goku is doing right here, even though Master Roshi himself is not able to do so. Master Roshi also says, every time I see him, he's matured significantly. I have a feeling he may have even surpassed me already. Now, that's also really important because the fact that Master Roshi then goes on to watch Goku fighting against Tien in the final climactic fight of this arc. And during the course of that fight, what goes on to happen? Well, Tien begins to show off way more of his power and techniques than he even did against Master Roshi, as he truly starts to go all out at this point, using the Dodon Ray, which Tao Pai Pai had used against Goku before, dealing some damage to him, and then using even more abilities as well, where he's able to attack Goku even though he does the exact same thing that Master Roshi wasn't able to see before. Tien can see it and can hit him, even though Krillin wasn't able to do that prior to Master Roshi's shock, as we could see down below, and is starting to deal some significant damage to him, where he's going to use what he says is his signature special move, or at least one of them, which is this volleyball attack, which is kind of weird to see Tien kind of doing this weird expression right here with the heart there and everything like that. But hey, you know, Tien sometimes I guess can be a little bit of a lover boy too. I don't really know. But the fact of the matter is, this is another technique he uses here that he never used against Master Roshi, which once again is shocking to Master Roshi, who just said that Goku had probably surpassed him. And this only continues to go from here as the two of them rev up their fight. Goku starts to get the better of Tien. However, Tien continues to only go all out and go even further than he already had been before. And this is really one of the best fights in the entire franchise, and really one of the best arcs by far. You know, for me, I would give this arc probably a 9 or a 10 out of 10 in terms of Dragon Ball in the entire franchise, because it is definitely better than the vast majority of what Toriyama has put out in the anime or even the manga, just because of how great it is. And also, this is back when the story focused way more on martial arts and techniques, as opposed to, you know, just big screaming explosion fights where people have various different transformations. But Goku is able to knock down Tien, and Tien goes to use his Taioken against Goku. However, in this case, Goku is able to go so fast, even faster than the speed of light, that he's able to outrace the light beams, go to Master Roshi, grab his sunglasses, and then block the ability so that he could attack Tien, which Master Roshi couldn't even see happening. He's asking the question, when in the world did he? Because he didn't even realize it happened because of how fast Goku moved. And even then, Tien is still keeping up with him, doing well, and Tien only goes on to use even more powerful techniques from here, including what we would go on to see very soon, such as this ability where he grows out 2 more arms from his back, which allows him to fight against Goku and also temporarily gain the advantage over him before Goku starts to use super speed again with his arms, where he's able to counter Tien and make it almost seem like he has 6 arms. But this is the point where Tien goes to use his ultimate move, the Kikoho, which, compared to the Kamehameha, as Roshi says right here, the Chi Cannon, the Kikoho, or the Tri-Beam, a move of enormous destructive force, many times more powerful than even the Kamehameha. Its power is so colossal, in fact, that the drain on one's own energy is devastating. Warriors have been known to die by using it, and even if one survives, one's life is shortened. That evil Suru Senin, teaching him a move that should never be taught. And this is where he decides to use it against Goku, which is a means of him trying to get Goku to make himself get a ring out. Because as he says right here, he will be able to kill Goku with this ability if Goku doesn't jump out of the ring. So either way, Tien would win this fight, but he would probably lose the tournament, and I guess that Goku, even though he would be dead, would be afforded the win. That would be kind of a weird turn of events in this arc, to say the least. Even Master Roshi says, he's telling the truth, don't be a stubborn fool, it's a terrible move that can even kill the one who uses it. And he's trying to get him to jump out of the way. This is when he uses the Tri-Beam and fires it directly at the ring, destroying it. And this is what leads to the climax, where Goku jumps up in the air and the two of them begin their fight. However, the fact of the matter is that because of the fact that Tien had just used so much power during the course of that move, that Goku was able to fire away from himself so that he could propel himself at Tien. Tien isn't even able to get out of the way at this point, and he hits him. This causes the two of them to fly down to the ground, and however, in a quick bit of bad luck, before either of them hits the ground, Goku bumps into a van, smacks right into the ground, and then Tien does, which means that Tien is the one who actually wins the tournament and is crowned the victor as a result. So with regard to who would actually have won originally between the two of these characters right here, Master Roshi and Tien, let's get into that conclusion right now. So based on all the evidence, who would win? Master Roshi as Jackie Chun or Tien in the 22nd tournament? Well, I think that based upon all the evidence that I've just shown right here that Toriyama laid out in the manga, that despite the fact that Master Roshi and Tien weren't really going 100% and using all their techniques, Master Roshi didn't bulk up into his, gains-filled form that Harold really likes, the fact of the matter is that Tien still would have proven victorious, because not only did he have other really powerful techniques that he could have used against Master Roshi to secure the victory, like the tri-beam, like his forearm ability, like the volleyball move and things like that. Master Roshi wasn't as powerful as Tien, even with his bulked up form, and simultaneously wouldn't have been able to secure the victory in terms of technique, in terms of stamina, and a lot of other things that it seems like Tien simply had on his side, even the ability to be faster and to observe faster things than Master Roshi. And even Master Roshi himself admits this to Tien, that he probably would have won the fight. So, as a result, I think that that is the most obvious choice to pick here based on all the evidence. Now, interestingly, over on my community tab, I actually ran a poll about this where most people decide that Master Roshi would win. However, I really feel like this comes down to a number of factors, like many people probably don't remember the original Dragon Ball or simply haven't seen it. They haven't read the manga so that they can remember for a fact just by reading it that Master Roshi admitted he would lose. And also, so many people now take into account Dragon Ball Super continuity when it comes to fights that occurred beforehand. However, Dragon Ball Super was created decades afterward. Much of the power scaling doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make any sense really to suggest that Tien would somehow be anywhere near the power level of Roshi, because he should be vastly more powerful at this point in time. If Master Roshi really was even comparable to the humans throughout any of Dragon Ball Z, then he would have been participating in the fights. However, time and time again, he goes on to say that he simply would have been a liability on the battleground. So at least when it comes to this, I feel like this is an example of people kind of voting for Roshi because, they've seen what he did in recent time, and that recent stuff and the more modern stuff is probably more clear in their minds. But nonetheless, I think it's pretty obvious based upon the evidence, like I said before, that Tien would be the winner. But what do you guys think? Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. If you're new here, consider subscribing and enable notifications so you can stay up to date with all my future videos. Also, if you like this video, leave a like, share it out because it really helps the channel, and make sure to stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.